Madonna and her brother Christopher hadn't spoken for 7 years when he got the cancer diagnosis. Their relationship had been destroyed by fame, money, and a tell-all book that exposed family secrets. But when Christopher called to say he was dying, Madonna dropped everything. 3 months later, standing on stage in Brazil, she would dedicate Like a Prayer to the brother who'd been her closest ally, her biggest betrayer, and ultimately her most profound loss. It was October 7, 2024, and Madonna was backstage at Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana beach, preparing to perform for 60,000 fans. But this wasn't a normal show preparation. 3 days earlier, her brother Christopher Ciccone had died from pancreatic cancer at age 63, and Madonna had spent 72 hours deciding whether to cancel the concert or push through her grief. She chose to perform, not because the show must go on, but because she needed to say goodbye to Christopher, the only way she knew how, through music, on stage, in front of thousands of witnesses. What those 60,000 fans would see that night was something Madonna had never shown in her 40-year career: complete, unguarded grief. To understand the depth of Madonna's pain that October night, you need to understand what Christopher had meant to her throughout most of her life. Christopher Ciccone was born 2 years after Madonna, the 6th of 8 children in the Ciccone family. From childhood, Madonna and Christopher shared something special. They were both different, both artistic, both desperate to escape the constraints of their conservative Michigan upbringing. When Madonna moved to New York City in 1978 with $35 in her pocket, Christopher followed soon after. He became her first roommate, her dance partner, her creative confidant, and eventually a crucial part of her rise to fame. As Madonna's career exploded in the 1980s, Christopher was right there beside her. He was her backup dancer on the Virgin Tour, her dresser during Live Aid, her creative director for the Who's That Girl tour. He designed her homes, directed her music videos, and knew her better than almost anyone alive. "Christopher understood me when nobody else did," Madonna said in a 1990 interview. "He was more than my brother, he was my artistic soulmate." But that closeness, that deep understanding, would eventually become the very thing that destroyed their relationship. Throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, Christopher was Madonna's right hand. He choreographed iconic performances, including the legendary Like a Prayer performance that defined an era. He was there for the Blonde Ambition tour, helping create some of the most controversial and celebrated stage moments in pop music history. He was there during her marriage to Sean Penn, during her romance with Warren Beatty, during all the highs and lows that came with being Madonna's inner circle. Christopher knew all her secrets, all her vulnerabilities, all the parts of Madonna that the public never saw, and for years he kept those secrets, remained loyal, and helped build the empire that made his sister the biggest pop star on earth. But working for family is complicated, especially when that family member is one of the most famous people in the world. The lines between personal and professional became blurred. Madonna's demands became harder to meet. Christopher's resentment began to build. By the early 2000s, cracks were showing in their relationship. Christopher felt underappreciated and underpaid for his contributions to Madonna's success. Madonna felt that Christopher was trading on their relationship rather than earning his position through merit. The final break came in 2008, when Christopher published Life with My Sister Madonna, a tell-all memoir that exposed intimate details about Madonna's life, her relationships, her insecurities, and her private moments. The book was brutal in its honesty. Christopher wrote about Madonna's controlling nature, her treatment of staff and lovers, her vanity, and her calculated approach to fame. He exposed family secrets, described private moments, and essentially weaponized the intimate knowledge he'd gained as her brother and confidant. Madonna was devastated, not just by what Christopher revealed, but by the betrayal itself. The brother she'd trusted more than anyone had sold her secrets for money and attention. How could he do this? Madonna reportedly said to friends, "I gave him everything. I brought him into my world, made him part of my success, and this is how he repays me." Christopher's response in interviews was equally harsh. "I gave her 20 years of my life. I sacrificed my own identity to be Madonna's brother. That book was my story too, and I had a right to tell it. The damage was irreparable. Madonna cut Christopher out of her life completely. No phone calls, no family gatherings, no contact whatsoever. 7 years of absolute silence followed. In March 2024, Christopher was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The prognosis was grim. The cancer was advanced, and treatment options were limited. Doctors gave him months, not years. Christopher had to make an impossible decision: die without ever speaking to his sister again, or reach out and risk another rejection. He chose to call. When Madonna's phone rang and she saw Christopher's name for the first time in 7 years, her first instinct was to ignore it. But something, intuition, hope, or just the weight of 7 years of silence, made her answer. "I'm dying," Christopher said. No preamble, no apology. "Pancreatic cancer, 3 to 6 months. I wanted you to know." Madonna was silent for a long moment. Then, "Where are you?" Madonna flew to see Christopher in Michigan within 48 hours. Their reunion was awkward, painful, and necessary. 7 years of hurt couldn't be erased in one conversation, but they could start the process of healing. "I'm sorry I wrote the book," Christopher said during their first meeting. "Or no, I'm not sorry I wrote it, but I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry our relationship ended that way. I'm sorry too," Madonna replied, "for taking you for granted, for not acknowledging your contributions, for cutting you out so completely." They spent the next 3 months rebuilding what they could of their relationship. Madonna visited as often as her touring schedule allowed. They talked about their childhood, about their mother who died when they were young, about all the years of closeness and creativity they'd shared, but they also talked honestly about the pain, the resentment, the betrayal, the mutual hurt that had destroyed their bond. "We can't get back the 7 years we lost," Christopher told Madonna during one visit. "But maybe we can make peace with why we lost them." By September 2024, Christopher's condition had deteriorated significantly. He was in hospice care, and the end was approaching. Madonna cleared her schedule as much as she could, but she was in the middle of a massive world tour, and there were commitments she couldn't break. On October 2nd, Madonna called Christopher from her hotel in São Paulo, Brazil. She was scheduled to perform in Rio in 5 days, but she told Christopher she was considering cancelling to be with him. "Don't you dare," Christopher said, his voice weak but firm. "You've never cancelled a show in your life. Don't start because of me." "But what if?" Madonna started. "Then I'll die knowing my sister is doing what she was born to do," Christopher interrupted. "Perform, create, be Madonna. That's all I ever wanted, to see you be exactly who you were meant to be." 2 days later, on October 4th, 2024, Christopher Ciccone died peacefully, with his husband Ray Thacker by his side. Madonna got the call while in rehearsals for the Rio show. She collapsed in grief, unable to speak, unable to process that her brother, her childhood companion, her creative partner, her biggest betrayer, and ultimately her family, was gone. For the next 72 hours, Madonna's team debated whether she should perform. The Rio concert was massive, a free beach concert expected to draw over 1 million people to Copacabana Beach, with 60,000 in the main viewing area. Cancelling would disappoint millions and cost enormous amounts of money. But how could Madonna perform 3 days after her brother's death? In the end, Madonna made the decision herself. "Christopher told me not to cancel, and maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to perform for him one last time." On October 7th, Madonna took the stage at Copacabana Beach. She'd warned her team that she might not make it through the show, that her emotions might overwhelm her, that this would be unlike any performance she'd ever given. For the first 90 minutes, she held it together. Her performance was strong, professional, controlled. Then came the moment she'd been dreading. "Tonight is special," Madonna told the crowd, her voice already beginning to crack. "3 days ago, I lost my brother Christopher. He was my brother, my friend, my creative director, my dance partner. We had a complicated relationship. We hurt each other. We didn't speak for 7 years." The crowd had gone completely silent. This level of personal vulnerability was unprecedented for Madonna. "But in the end, he was my brother, and I loved him, and I'm going to sing something for him now. A song we created together in 1989, a song that means more to me tonight than it ever has before." The opening organ notes of Like a Prayer began, and Madonna's composure immediately shattered. This song, the one Christopher had helped choreograph, the one they'd spent months perfecting, the one that represented their creative partnership at its peak, was now his eulogy. "When you call my name, it's like a little prayer," Madonna sang. But her voice was breaking, tears were streaming down her face, and she made no attempt to hide them. The crowd began singing along, their voices lifting Madonna's faltering vocals, creating a communal moment of grief and support. "I'm down on my knees, I want to take you there." The lyrics took on new meaning. Madonna was literally on her knees, emotionally, brought down by grief she couldn't contain. Her backup dancers, many of whom had known Christopher, were crying too. The camera operators capturing the moment were wiping away tears. 60,000 people were witnessing Madonna, always controlled, always commanding, completely broken by loss. Halfway through the song, Madonna stopped singing entirely. She stood center stage, sobbing, unable to continue. The band kept playing, the crowd kept singing, but Madonna was lost in her grief. Her dancers surrounded her, offering support. One of them whispered something in her ear. Madonna nodded, took a deep breath, and forced herself to continue. "Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone," she sang, and the irony wasn't lost on anyone. Here was Madonna, surrounded by 60,000 people, feeling utterly alone in her grief. By the time the song ended, there wasn't a dry eye in the venue. This wasn't a performance anymore. It was a public grieving, a mass funeral, a moment of shared human sorrow. After the show, Madonna was emotionally exhausted. She'd given everything on that stage, had shown a vulnerability that went against everything her career had been built on. "I thought I could get through it," she told her team afterward. "I thought I could be professional." But Christopher deserved more than professional. He deserved to be grieved, truly, honestly grieved. The performance went viral within hours. Clips of Madonna breaking down during Like a Prayer were viewed millions of times, but unlike typical viral celebrity moments, the response was overwhelmingly compassionate. People related to the complexity of sibling relationships, to the pain of reconciling too late, to the regret of wasted years. Madonna's grief became a mirror for everyone who'd lost someone they had unfinished business with. In the weeks after Christopher's death, Madonna spoke more openly about their relationship than she ever had before. "I wasted 7 years being angry," she said in an interview. 7 years that I could have spent with my brother. And for what? Pride? Hurt feelings? Those 7 years are gone, and I can never get them back. She also spoke about the lessons Christopher's death had taught her. Life is too short to hold grudges, too short to let pride prevent reconciliation. Christopher and I found our way back to each other, but it was almost too late. I don't want anyone else to make that mistake. Christopher Ciccone's death changed something fundamental in Madonna. She became more open about family, more willing to acknowledge past mistakes, more vocal about the importance of forgiveness. She established a scholarship in Christopher's name for young dancers and choreographers, acknowledging his contributions to the arts that she'd never fully credited during his life. Every subsequent performance of Like a Prayer on her tour was dedicated to Christopher's memory, and each time Madonna allowed herself to feel the grief, to show the vulnerability, to honor her brother by being honest about how much his loss affected her. The story of Madonna and Christopher Ciccone is a reminder that family relationships are complicated, that success can poison even the closest bonds, and that sometimes we realize how much someone meant to us only after they're gone. Madonna's tribute to Christopher that night in Rio wasn't just about a brother's death. It was about wasted years, about pride that prevented reconciliation, about the devastating cost of letting hurt feelings prevent healing. The most powerful moment of Madonna's 40-year career wasn't a perfectly executed dance routine or a controversial performance. It was standing on stage, broken by grief, singing a song to the brother she'd loved, lost, betrayed, and ultimately couldn't save. If this powerful story of family, loss, and regret moved you, subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share with anyone who needs to be reminded that life is too short for grudges. Have you reconciled with someone you'd been estranged from? Let us know in the comments, and ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the relationships that shape us.